Hello you lucky people, today we are going to look at a bit of patch designing within good old Omnisphere. And today we are going to create this little patch. Now what's so special about this patch? Well, the special thing about this patch is I have done a couple passes of the sequence on this now, and not a single one is the same, but it still sounds quite melodic. Now, you can just go into the Arpeggiator and set things to chaos, which will randomly play each step. But if you've got pitches in here, what I mean by pitches, I mean if I set this to transpose and I send that to 12, that'll send that particular step up an octave. Now, if you have these randomly placed, you end up with literally chaos, and it can sound really unpredictable. Now, this is a bit of predictable chaos we're going to do. So I'll just take them back to loop. Basically, loop will play that sequence through and keep looping it and looping and looping it. Chaos is the random factor, and once means it'll go through once and then stop at the very end. So it'll play all 32 steps of the sequence and then stop. So that's basically what those three do. So what we're going to do is ensure, first of all, that Omnisphere is in an initial patch. So I'm going to go initialize patch, and on this screen I'll say OK, and what I'll do is give me a default patch, which we all know and love, the wonderful sort of like square wavy type sound. So just move that window down here so I can actually see what I'm doing. The next thing we're going to do is set up the first layer, and the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to set up the layers, then I'm going to go into the modulation matrix, set up on the modulation, because it's going to be easy to explain it that way. So if I first of all go into a JD 800 fat square, it sounds like this. Now I want to put some unison on, just to thicken that up. I'll just bring the depth up a little bit. I don't want it to spread too much. So I think that's enough. That's enough there. Right, and then we go back to our filter section. So our filter section, I want to put a low pass filter, a 48 decibel one on there. Just gives a bit of softness to the sound now. Just up the gain a little bit. And then we're just going to open the cutoff wheel. So that basically, the more you cut off, you put on, as in open it up. It's like a filter. Exactly what it says on the tin, a filter. If you have it open up full, you get the original sound. If you bring it down with a low pass, you actually cut off the high frequencies. So it sort of like works in reverse in your head, because you think a low pass will let the low frequencies, it basically lets the low frequencies through, cuts off the high frequencies. So if we just move that down a little bit more, I want a bit sort of warmer sound. I want to get rid of those harsh frequencies. I'm going to turn that envelope down a bit to make it even less harsh. And now we're going to play around with the envelope a bit. So this is the volume, basically what it will do. On the attack, release, attack, decay, sustain, release. So this is how the volume of the sound will actually go. So we get, I want it quite plucky. There we go. And I want the filter to sort of like, oh no, that sounds alright. That sounds absolutely fine. Right, so that's layer 1 done. Very simple. And then we're going to go into the second layer. So my second layer is going to have a triangle. Just a very simple triangle. And I am literally going to copy this filter across. I it doesn't have a drop down, I can't copy the filter across. If it doesn't have a drop down arrow, like this one, I can go copy envelope and paste it into the next layer. You can't do that with a filter. By the looks of things, I'll just nip into the filter. Oh no, I can't. Copy filter presets. There you go. And I want to paste it. There we go. So I've got exactly the same preset on there. So what I want to do now, you just tweak it a little bit more. I want to open this a bit further. And bring the envelope right down. And the idea, I don't want too much of this triangle in here. So I'm going to... So it sounds as though it's not there, but we're going to fix that in after. So for sound design purposes, I'm going to leave it back up so I can actually hear what is going on. And then just have a quick look at the envelope amp envelope section. I need to just take the depth down, take the sustain right down, and bring the release up to give a plucky sound. So it sounds as though we can't hear that much, but I want to change that shape. That's exactly what I want. So what I'm going to do is just going to whiz over to the FX section, because we need to make that layer be a little bit more, well, so you can hear it. So I'm going to put a Britvox on and a Studio 2 EQ. Now what I want to do is, because this is like the bass end, but I don't want too much bass because otherwise it's going to absolutely swamp everything. And I'll just bring the bass up there, and I want to just turn the presence down on the level and turn the master up. So now we're actually enhancing the bass end here with this, and I'm just going to tweak the bottom end to a peaking EQ, and I think that'll be alright there. Let's have a quick check of cabinet settings. I'm going to turn the gain off. I just want to change the cabinet to an MD21 off axis. Okay, so that's the BFX done. So what I want to do now is put some EQ on the, sorry, swap back over to the A layer and just take that B layer off. Right, I want another EQ on there. I just want a 2-band stereo with EQ on there. And we'll turn the frequency up and just Q band to just sort of narrow the banding so it just tackles that particular frequency that I got it to. And the same with the second band, and I want that also as a peaking. So instead of just peaking will affect that particular frequency and slightly round it, whereas if I put high shelf on, it will literally do everything above that frequency. Low pass will do below. So we're going to peaking here. On another EQ, because I want to tackle a different set of frequencies. I want to just take that up to about here, and I want a high pass filter. You're not going to quite hear this, so I'm just going to turn the just about hear that, and I want some delay on this. Delay, and I want just a BPM delay. I think I just need to turn the emphasis up a bit and just make sure our distortions are where I want them. Yes, that's it. Okay, now if I go to common, this now is going to add a little bit more. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the tube limiter first, because that will allow me, where are we? Dynamics. Of course it'll be under Dynamics, Adrian. Here we go. So the threshold's up. I'm going to turn the gain up so we can actually hear things going on now. There we go. Now if I turn both layers on, now I need to turn that layer down, otherwise you can still hear it. There we go. And I want now a little bit more delay on. I want a 3 times delay, and I think we're going to leave that exactly as it is. Yep. Might want to play with that tone. Yeah, I just want to just turn that slightly. That's better. Now I'm going to go into a bit more delay. And I am going to bring that to about halfway. But I want to turn the high frequencies down because we can suddenly hear a build up. Turn the low frequencies up and then turn that Q right down. I want to just speed up those delays on the left to make 16th note instead of 8th notes. And we'll turn the feedback right up. Now then, go into the drive section here. So it gives a bit more volume. And we create a bit of a feedback loop. But we now want to just tame some of this. So to do that, we're just going to stick a compressor on. And this is where I need to turn layer B down now. And also A. I need to turn A right down actually. Right, the reason for all these compressions is because when we start getting all the delays going, it is going to peak and trough the sound, and I want to keep it quite level, that sound. So now what we're going to do is the wonderful bit of modulation. Now the reason why I've got into this mod matrix is so as you can actually see that you don't have to go through each element and go right click, modulate and choose modulation. If you know exactly what you want to do, it's easy just to go in here and say, right, first of all I want to use my mod wheel and I want to target the BPM delay BPM delay mix. Nope, I want the layer effects and I'm in the wrong layer. First of all I need to be in the right layer. No wonder I can't see it, because if you go into layer effects you only get to see what is actually there. So if I go into B and I bring up layer effects, I will not see the delay that is on just on the A channel. I only see the effects that are on the B channel. So that's why I couldn't see the BPM delay. So I need to turn that down, and I want to not go too mad. A bit more, that'll do. Now I want to now add a bit of randomness to the sample timbre, and that should be down here. There we go. And I don't want to really go wild with this. I just want to keep it quite narrow, but narrow enough to sort of like make a difference. It'll be more apparent when I start faffing around with the that's a great technical term, faffing around with the arpeggiator. So now I want to do the same for layer 2, but I'd want to just do it a little bit different, just to give a bit of change there. Now I'll just go back to layer A. Now I want to now take LFO1 and I want to that's just reminded me actually, I haven't set up the arpeggiator. So let's do the arpeggiator next. So what we've got here is the arpeggiator sequence. To turn it on, just press that button. Nothing fantastic. Okay, so what I want to do now is just give a bit of randomness to it, up and down. So all I'm doing here is playing octaves. So what I want to do is make this a bit more plucky and turn the humanity up and add a bit of life to it. Now humanity, we want to tighter down beats there. Right, in itself that doesn't sound exciting. So what we're going to do, we're going to lengthen the sequence and we're going to turn that one off. I'm going to keep all these on. But to add a little bit more interest, I'm going to put that full, bring that up a bit, bring that one down a bit, and then make these next three equalish, not quite, but as the eye will sort of give. Now, the reason why I want these equal is because this is the key of getting some different sort of like, well, you can hear I just put this seventh note in there, and I'll put a fifth in. And I'll put a second in, because what these mean is semitones. So it's 10 semitones from your root note, 7 semitones, 3 semitones. So that sounds quite pleasant in itself. But once I put chaos on, what it's going to do is going to play these end notes here at random. So that adds that little touch to the sound. And then you can go a bit further. And this is where I was before, pick up where we left off. I want to mess around with our Arpeggiator humanity setting now. And to do that, instead of me moving it manually all the time, I want it to be smooth. I can actually, when I restart the sequence now, you see that little white blob, that tells me where it is. So it adds a bit more life. Now, we've got unison on layer A as well. And what I want to do with unison, once I find it on here, I'll stop playing that now for a minute. Unison, I want to change the depth with my wheel. So that's going to be how deep that unison is going to affect the sound. What I mean by that is, so it thickens the sound up a bit more and you get a bit more high frequencies. Now I'm going to use the alternate source to mess around with a sample start. So what it'll do is, where's sample start, Adrian? It's in here, because it's in a later. So the sample start, this will play around with the start of the sample. Once I move that in there, in alternate form. So if you can see it, each time, see it plays, it goes either side. So alternate, hence the term alternate. Now I want to put some key tracking on. So it'll track the sound up and down. So the cutoff will actually track the key up and down the keyboard. So the higher up, the more the cutoff will open. So in that case, you need to go to filter. So if I go to cutoff and I bring that up, and I bring key tracking down a bit. So the higher I play up the keyboard, you see that those little white things there when it comes up. Oh, sorry about that. There we go, a little white thing appeared. So that's the cutoff actually opening and closing. So we also want to do the same for layer B. So I want to go into invert key tracking. So I'll go to key tracking and go to cutoff. And we do roughly the same setting. Don't have to be exact, but bring that down a bit. There we go. And I want to change the filter depth as well. So we're in layer B, we'll do that. Because I don't want that filter flapping around all the time. So filter envelope depth. Where's that going to be? Sometimes I have to think. Envelope, of course. Filter envelope depth. So we're actually playing with this one here. So we'll just go back to my modulation now. See, it's starting to gain a bit of sort of presence, this sequence. So we're going to go to key tracking again, and we're going to apply, you guessed it, to the same thing. Envelope, filter envelope depth, and I want to, I don't actually want this as high as that. I'm going to just take these filter envelopes down a bit. Now I've demonstrated what they do. And finally, it's alright having these same plucky short, because if I change the length now, it becomes a bit more legato, sort of like smoother. Length, shorten it, we get a little bit more sort of like plucky, which is great for ambient music. So to automate that, I'm just going to do LFO1 and Arpeggiator depth. So when I restart the sequence now, it should, oh, I know what I need to do. I need to change this LFO1, because I don't want it to be free. I want it to follow a particular pattern. So I want to go on a triangle. And this will now sync it. I've got my sequence set at 90 beats a minute. So if I want to slow this right down, all I need to do is change this to 60. So if you're playing something at 60 but you want a faster rhythm, all you need to do is go into Arpeggiator, and where it says 16th, change it to 30 seconds. And you've got it. So if I went up to 120 beats a minute, this is going to sound absolutely manic. So I change that to eighth notes. And I get the nice melodic phrase again. So the key to all this is when you mess around with the Arpeggiator and you mess around with the BPM, just be mindful of what you've got here. And if you want it slower, play around with these. If you're playing in triplets or dotted, then by all means use these. But I usually stick with these straight ones for ambient music. So there we go, a little bit of sound designing. And all I'm doing here is just playing a note octave apart. So if I just add another C in there, and a C up the other end of the scale, you've got an evolving sequence that never repeats and has some chaotic randomness about it, but sort of like predictable chaos, because we've done this at the end of the sequence. Always put it at the end of don't put it in the middle or anywhere. Always put your note changes at the end of a sequence, so you could actually extend that to 16 and do the same. So there we go. A very, very quick way to provide an nice little background sequence for your next ambient track. If you enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, ding that bell, and I'll catch you in the next one.